Y'all know y'all want to be here. So good to see all of you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the RBNJB show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. We are here live. I'd like to give a warm welcome to all of you and just let you guys know that the JB show streams every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can catch me on the RBN Roundtable on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just to let you guys know, I also host my own channel called the JB Font Channel during the week on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please make sure to click the thumbs up. And if you are new, please make sure to smash down that subscribe button because according to the algorithm, we know they don't like us. So I would just like to give a warm welcome to everybody that's here in the chat. It's good to see Savvy Sav says, "Oh my God, I was having a terrible day, but then I got the notification. JB always puts a smile on my face. Thank you so much for letting me know that. I aim to make people smile. It's so good to see you. John is here today as well. Happy Sunday to you. Austin Jones is here. So good to see you as well. Robin, Ryan, all in accounted for. Eric Gray is here as well. Sweary Fairy, good to see you as well here too. CBC voter Panquake, also he's good to see you. Henry, nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Sunday Funday, nice to have you. All right. Anthony with smiles on, so good to see you too. Zach, Zach is in the building. Radical leftist agenda, always good to see you here as well. Nimish, good to see you here to say hello. All right, everybody that's on Rockfin, a warm welcome to every single one of you as well who are watching. And I have with me today a frequent viewer of RBN, Janice, also known as Reality Revolution, joining me to talk about some solutions, some possible solutions that we have today. And so, how are you doing, Miss Janice?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I actually am channeling my inner Savvy Sabs right now because she likes to talk about solutions, and these are, you know what? One thing I always think about is that solutions, talking about solutions, kind of invokes a bit of hope within you
Yeah.
because then it's like, okay, so maybe we can do this, and then this can lead down this path to us getting the equity and equality that we've been looking for, right?
Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Improving immediate, surrounding and then letting that grow.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So that's one of the things that I've actually been kind of excited for. So one of the things that you brought up to me in a conversation when you talked about how there are different possible solutions to the plight that we're feeling within this country, and it's kind of interesting because I was listening to friend to RBN Robert Durden's reading of Black Shirts and Reds by Michael Parenti, and
Yeah.
even within the first chapter of it, really he goes over what was going on and during the pre and during the fascist rule of oh my god, I'm blanking on his name already. I just had it in my head. Of Mussolini.
Hmm.
Was it Mussolini?
Italy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in the Nazi regime under Hitler,
Yeah.
and so it talked about how well Parenti spoke about how there's basically so many parallels to back then, and there seems to be faux um this faux type of left rhetoric, this like understanding, like, oh, it's kind of like the Bill Clinton "I feel your pain" type of rhetoric, while they still keep stumping on your foot, proverbially.
It's hyper normalization.
Well, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so because of seeing that, one of the things I noticed is that there's similarities between now and then. But then what happened, especially during like particularly like the Russian Revolution or the Cuban Revolution, they said enough was enough, and they started to push for things that built almost like a dual power
Right.
within these
Dual
structures.
strategy, yes.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that you actually are trying to harp on is something that's similar to that. By looking to the past, we can see the strategies of what we can do today, right?
Right.
Hmm.
Yes,
Hmm.
definitely.
Hmm.
I haven't I've seen a few lectures of Parenti's, but I haven't read anything. So that may be something I should read too that I have not read.
Yeah, it's a very interesting read, and one of the things. Now, please forgive me, to anybody who's watching, but I used a little bit of the mutual aid that was given to me. Thank you very much. And I went to a thrift book, site website, and
Yeah.
I
Do you use
got,
thrift books?
huh?
Thrift books?
Yes, yes,
I love them. I love them.
yeah. So it was like $10 for a used book by Parenti. It's called. Oh my God, what is it called? Dirty Truths. And
Mm.
so I should get it in about a week. But
Oh, you
ten
don't have
bucks,
it yet?
no, 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 no. I'm gonna get it.
Yay!
And the thing is, I want to read it. But
Mm.
after listening to Robert Durden on the Indie News Network, he's basically doing a reading of Black Shirts and Red. So it's kind of like you kind of have already an audiobook of it already. And so
Uh-huh.
after listening to his reading of it, chapter one and chapter two so far I've listened to, and it's quite profound at the historical analysis and how it matches almost peg for peg within what we're seeing today. It's like the methods and the strategy of the oppressors have never changed.
Never, never.
So I think if what worked back then for the revolutionaries, for the socialists, for the communists, for the anarchists, for the progressives, if that worked for them back then, what to say that it still won't work for us today, right?
Sure. There's
Mhm.
some differences that we don't have too, though, that I worry, might hinder it, but it certainly wouldn't
Sure.
stop it. And there's a few advantages we have they didn't as well, like the internet and the ability to communicate with people around the world.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it can be pretty like it's astonishing once you start looking through history. It's like deja vu, right? Like
Hmm.
oh my goodness, like that's what's happening right now. So it's
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah. I mean, even to the point where Parenti was talking about uh, how the the social democrats or the liberals in Germany, uh, when Himberg decided to make Hitler chancellor,
Uh-huh.
um, it was basically the liberals or the yeah the liberal I would just say liberals,
Yeah,
how they teamed up with the right in order to help push in someone like uh uh him Himberg. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the correct pronunciation of his name, but uh and how he also ushered in being Hitler being chancellor. So
and it's
using,
usually fear.
well, of course. I
That's
mean,
achieved by fear. Like you get liberal because liberal thinking people aren't normally what you would think authoritarian, right? They should be less authoritarian. But if you
mhm,
scare them, here they come, and they will put whatever they have to ease their minds in. Like whatever will make this stop, basically.
yeah, and it's almost as if their worst fears. Well, no, not almost as if their worst fears are based on equity and equality. That's
Hmm.
basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's like one quote that I absolutely love is, it says, "To the privileged, equality feels like oppression."
Weird. Wow, that's a strange aspect to think of, huh?
Well, I mean,
Pressure.
yeah, but I mean, think about it. Because if you have this mindset that you're better than everybody else, if you have this mindset that, you know what's best, as a small group or a singular person versus the collective, then of course when they try to push for equity and equality, you feel like, well, that power is being taken away. It's like my power, when really you have an excess of what you shouldn't have, because nobody deserves an excess of power over one another.
Right.
And
You know
so
what?
when
That's something too that
Mhm.
I found really, I don't know, it's strange, like this weird phenomena of
Mhm.
self perpetuating that ideal. Like they actually, the richer and more powerful you become, the more segregated you become, and you only surround yourself with people that adore you and never hold you to account for anything, and never. So like you're kind of, you believe you're something you're not because you're told that all day long. And so if someone suggests to
Boom.
you something else, you're like, get away from me. Don't you know who I am? Kind of thing. Nancy Pelosi does that very well.
Okay,
You ever
okay, okay.
noticed?
All right, all right. Okay,
Ugh.
now let's apply that to not just the Republican Party but also the Democratic Party at
Yeah,
large.
yeah, more.
When they, because what did Nancy Pelosi say? Oh, we feed them, right?
Ah,
Um,
it's disgusting.
I know, but
I want to
then,
just smack her sometime.
well, I'm not going to stop you. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. Um, Also, let's think about it this way. What about people who are constantly praising progressive members of Congress as well? The Jayapals and the Pokans and the Talibs and the Ocasio Cortezes. They're
It's
constantly
disgusting.
being praised and told, you're doing great. They have a lot of yes men around them. And some of the people who I think that are yes people
Hmm.
tend to be also in the independent media space, constantly telling them, oh, just
Right.
keep doing what you're doing. Whereas you have those of us that are saying, yeah, you're going about it the wrong way. And then every single time we try to say something, then
Hmm.
it's like, yeah,
You're
no,
not doing it right.
stop,
That's not
don't
how to
do
do
that.
it. You're gonna make it worse for us.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I think Revolutionary Blackout too has done a really good job recently of pointing out that that seems to go right along class line.
yes.
You know, like the more money they have, the less
Yeah.
likely they are to be actual progressives there. You know,
Yeah. And the thing is that,
and
and
it's
you're not,
sad.
yeah, but, and you're not saying that it's impossible. It's
No.
just the likelihood is lowered. Uh, it's just like with somebody. I actually responded to a tweet, about what, 45 minutes ago. And somebody was saying that some people didn't consider them to be on the left because these, a certain person just didn't see them struggle like everybody else. And
Hmm.
I said, I don't care if you didn't struggle. The point is that, are you empathetic to the plight and the oppression of disenfranchised people, particularly poor and working people, and
Hmm.
are you anti-capitalist and anti-imperialist? This is the point. You can still be somebody that lived a great life, but the thing is that, how are you, like, what are you doing to help us, and
Hmm.
how do you feel about what we're going through? And if you're trying to help get equity and equality for us, as well as you feel our pain and you want it to stop, and you're working actively to make it stop,
Hmm.
either through financial means by donating to mutual aid or other groups, or you're doing it by your physical means or your means of time, whatever you're doing, okay, cool.
Hmm.
Welcome in, comrade. You're here. And it's good to have you. It's like, but the thing is that
But I don't think
I,
they
I'm
feel the urgency. Like it's
so,
so much starker, you know, to those of people that are living in it than
of
it
course,
is. Yeah, and so I don't think they feel as like, oh, I have to do this, or you know, like we do.
of course.
I don't.
However, I do think there are a small minority of them that are actually listening to us
Yeah.
that do feel that sense of urgency, but they're the exception rather than the rule.
Yes.
I mean, is that a fair point?
Yes, definitely. They are. There are some,
Yeah.
uh, and we got to hang on to them and not bash them too. I want to make sure we do that. We love them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
don't want
No,
to
no,
send them
no.
away.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, because the thing is that the the
Thank
the,
goodness.
the class traders who are working towards our or towards getting rid of oppression and
Yes,
helping towards our liberation, they're the ones who are actually working towards equity and equality. Look, we love y'all.
and they don't
And
have to, right?
yeah,
We do. We have to do this or die. They don't have to, and they do, and that's very special.
yes, you took the words out of my mouth. Thank you. Yeah,
Very special.
and that's true. And that's one of the things that I try to. I hope I convey. If I haven't conveyed it accurately, I do apologize. To you and to all of our audience because I want to make sure that the ones who are class traders who they just fell into privilege, well, it's number one, it's actually not your fault that you fell into it. Just
Right.
like it's not my fault that I fell into poverty. But what are you doing with your status in order to help those who are less privileged?
What could be more noble than that? Actually, you finally get into
That's
where you're
true.
one of them people, and you're like,
Yeah.
hey, up yours. I'm with these guys. Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like
And you will get ostracized for that. I promise.
and the willingness to be ostracized for
Yeah.
it is actually
Yeah.
a very interesting thing. Because if you're somebody who's rich and privileged, but you're literally trying to fight anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, I'm sorry, you're being anti-imperialist and anti-capitalist and fighting against oppressive forces. You're literally putting your neck out there,
Yeah. And
even
it
though
could
you have
cost you a
resources.
lot. In fact,
Yeah,
your whole family, even at some junctions. There's been a few, that it's
yeah,
cost everything,
yeah, it's
but they
true.
still do it. I just saw one, in fact, that was on, I don't know, it was some show about Ukraine. I think it was on the Gray Zone. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
this really wealthy guy who left his money and went over
Mm,
there and is taking he's being revolutionary, and
yeah,
I thought that was
yeah,
astonishing. You don't see that often.
yeah, yeah.
Someone from the Johnson family did that as well, like from Johnson and Johnson.
Really?
Yeah, just abandoned his wealth and bailed. He was disgusted
Wow.
by it, and he still gets harassed by his family, I think.
Wow, I
Yeah, it
mean,
was
that's
really
pretty
interesting.
base.
Something to
Yeah,
watch if you have a few minutes. Check that out because
yeah,
it's I don't know, it's informative to know what's happening in their head.
yeah. I mean, if we're gonna go by examples of class traders, everybody just calls him Che Guevara, but it's actually Dr. Che Guevara because
Who?
he's literally a doctor, or Dr. Huey P. Newton,
Okay, I know
right?
Newton. I don't know who that first one is. Who?
Che Guevara was actually one of the revolutionaries that helped during the Cuban Revolution,
Oh,
right?
oh, oh. Okay.
but
Yeah.
he but he was a doctor, and
Yeah.
he actually had incentives to keep the system in place and just make his money and live out his life, but he didn't.
Hmm.
So if you really want to call somebody a trader, Che Guevara, who is counted as one of the greatest left revolutionaries
Yeah.
in the world, he was a class trader. People like Huey P. Newton, who also went to college and was a doctor, you know, he could have sat back and just collected of all the riches, but he
And
didn't.
but
So
that's a choice they have to make, right? It's
yes,
not just going to happen that way. That is something
yeah,
they're like, no, I'm not going to go this way.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that requires some kind of dedication, right, to a noble cause, I guess.
Oh, wait, wait, wait. This is one of the reason why. Okay, first off, RIP Shireen Abu Akleh said Max's dad, Max Blumenthal, is a Zionist Washington elite. If that's the you believe,
Max
if
is?
that's yeah, um, because I've heard the last name Blumenthal before. Like there's
Oh
a
yeah,
congressperson named Richard Blumenthal. I'm not sure
yeah.
if they're
They're
related.
Jewish. They're Jewish. I know that. I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, I know Max isn't a Zionist,
Well, I know, but I'm saying
but
that
if his dad is, that's interesting. That would make him kind of a traitor, wouldn't it?
yeah, it would make him a class traitor and somebody who's actually aligned with you know fighting oppression. Which we're
Hmm.
coming up with great examples.
Aaron
Also,
Mate too is of Jewish heritage and still fights Israel.
yeah, yeah, and where Pilgrim says, yeah, Fergie was on the gray zone on Monday. He's part of the Cox family. They got rich
Yeah,
off
that's who it
cable.
was exactly. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
tried to find more information about him and couldn't find much.
yeah, I don't know who he is. Like, because when I think of Fergie, I think of two women. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I think of the
in
singer
Europe.
Fergie, and as well as the oh my God, Prince. The Prince's, I forgot his
The
name.
hoe. The
It- damn.
She was
Uh,
a hoe, right? Like that's what everybody calls her.
his wife, the one who he cheated on Diana with,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah, let's don't even go there with the Royals. They are a
Oh
bunch of
God.
lunatics, and I just
Yeah.
yikes.
And imperialist too.
Yeah,
A
really
colonist
scary. In
imperialist.
fact,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
scary. Have you seen any of that stuff about what is claimed in Canada is that they stole these children from the orphanage?
For what? Like
Like
why?
I no, like the Queen Elizabeth came to an orphanage of indigenous kids, so like native uh, to Canada, and they took them to the lake like for a picnic or something, and didn't bring them back. And I'm going through everything I can find about that to try and vet it to see if that can't be true, right? Like that can't be true. Like how could? And I come across this priest. He's a Catholic priest who was raising holy hell about it, and he's been completely ostracized from society now and shut off. And I'm like, I want to know so bad if that's true. I
You
try
you
to
know it
find out.
it's sad. I wouldn't be surprised if it was
Oh
true.
man,
That's what
that's
makes it
scary.
that's what makes me sad about it.
But I see people saying that too occasionally.
Yeah.
I think even like a couple of the, I don't know who is it, uh the David Dole and who's the other guy that does the YouTube stuff from Canada, the uh
Oh,
the
oh my
humanist
God.
guy.
Oh no, he's in Oregon.
Oh, I thought he was
Um,
in Canada. Why did I think that?
no, 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 no. No. Mike Figueredo's
Yeah, that's
in.
his name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
I
in.
thought he was a Canadian.
Yeah, he's in Oregon. Um,
I'm in Oregon.
yeah. A non-user says, "I have lost my family, but my child, not rich, came from poor, but professional managerial class trader." Yeah, because
Welcome.
because the thing is that a lot of people, even who are professional managerial class, a lot
Yeah.
of them are they are relegated to the suburbs, and to them it's like it's not that bad, and there's just this type of thought. And even then, when they portray that class, it's such a welcoming thing because a lot of times they'll be ostracized by their family as well.
Yeah.
The people who make just over six figures,
Uh-huh.
maybe between 150 and $250,000 a year. They're not super ultra rich, but they have kind of a somewhat decent life. And if they're class traders too, they can get ostracized by their family too.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I didn't grow up
very
poor at all. I mean, we even had a
oh
maid sometimes. I didn't grow up poor. I went to Catholic school.
okay.
Uh, but I also, my dad, who he was like the head of the plumbers and pipe fitters union.
Hmm.
Uh, so he was high up there. I mean, that's like mafia boss style power. I guess somehow
Wow.
people
Okay.
think that. But he would never like he got drafted from medical school to Vietnam, and he ended up being a medic there, and it just totally changed his whole entire world. And I think
Wow.
that's what got him. He just made sure that we all recognized, people that are in need. And I remember one great example of that was like, I remember being, I don't know, I was like 8 or so. And
Mm-hmm.
we had a maid named Mabel that would, clean the house and stuff. And one day she told me to make my bed. And I'm like, that's what we pay you for. I said that to her. My dad lost his mind about that. He lost his mind.
Oh
He
my
said, "You're going to
god!
be your slave for a couple days." And I was like, so that's the kind of person he was. And
Wow!
if he had not done that, like if he had just let me get away with that, I would be one of them people, like looking
Wow!
down on people. And but yeah, my dad, I don't know what it was that he saw that as
Mm-hmm.
I'm not teaching her right, like.
Wow!
But yeah, it's amazing that there are
Mhm.
some.
Yeah.
But what turned him that way? Like the rest of his family, is pretty wealthy. I don't know if you know what the Mako is, because uh, but they are not like that. So he's like the only one. The rest of them are really kind of uh, I don't know what the word would be. Snobbish, I guess. Like
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't know, just
Mm-hmm.
rich, and have disdain for people who aren't the same.
Yeah.
So it's amazing
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. But props to your dad for being vigilant on seeing people for people.
Yeah.
So
And
and
he
then
was so
feeling.
great to people like that. Like he did
Yeah.
stuff for everybody all the time, all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
He sent her to like a cruise and stuff, and
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
those are like the most cherished people we have in the world, like 'cause without them,
yeah.
we wouldn't even be talking. I don't think.
Yeah. I actually had a friend. This is basically when I first started getting more into the political scene. I was in the hospital and they wanted me to pay $400 for a nurse to come give me antiviral infusions at home.
Hmm.
And they asked me in the hospital room for a credit card, and I didn't. And I posted a video about it because I was just upset about it.
Right.
And then he was like, and then he boom, he sent me without hesitation $400.
Really.
And I found out that they can give it to me in pill form for free.
Oh,
And I'm like, are you kidding? I'm like, you made this lady come into my hospital room
weird.
to charge me $400 for a nurse to come in and do an IV infusion at my house for $400.
Who was the
When
person
you
that
got,
gave you the money?
huh?
Who was the person that gave you the money?
It was a friend. I don't want to
Oh,
say
just
his name.
someone that you knew
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. He's on the left too, but he's a friend.
Okay,
Because
not a
he
stranger.
no. He
Okay,
was but he acknowledges the privilege that he has,
yeah.
that he grew up with. But anyways, um, the crazy part is they were like, "Oh well, I we have the pill form that we can just give you for free," and I'm like,
Wow.
"You put me through all that, and you guys could have get." And you know what I did? I took that $400, sent it right back to him.
I wonder
I'm
why
like,
they
I'm
did
like,
that.
"Thank you so much, but I don't need it," because the thing is that you put me through basically anxiety in the
Why?
hospital, in the ICU. I'm sorry, was it ICU or PCU? Whatever. But still, I was in the hospital bed recovering from what was it? I think yeah, I almost went into septic shock. And so I needed the antivirals or antibacterials, whichever it was, to help me, get over it. And they were like, "Oh, well, this has to be done through infusion. So, but this can be done at home, and it's $100. Say it's 10 days, $40 per day."
But I don't understand why
And
they're telling you that.
yeah, and then they could have given me the prescription in pill form for free.
And why
And then
didn't they?
and
Like, well, why do you
why didn't
know
they go
why?
that at first? And I'm just like, I wanted to be like, you know what? Fuck all y'all. Fuck
I want
y'all.
to know the reason behind
I
it,
was pissed. I was pissed
because that will drive me
because it was
crazy.
money. That's all it was. They saw me, they saw that I had Medicare, which to them is like, oh shit, we can actually milk money from the government of this guy. This is why
Oh,
whenever I go to
oh,
the
oh, I
hospital,
see.
whenever I go to the hospital, it's at least a 3 to 5 day stay. It's never short. They don't see. I'm the type of person that
Because of Medicare.
they don't want to kick me out of the hospital because they
Oh my
know I have
gosh.
Medicare, and then they practically put a mint on my pillow when I go to the hospital, and
You know
so
what's
then
weird? Okay, what's weird about that is most people like I've worked in the hospital. I was a phlebotomist.
hmm
And I dealt with like Medicare and coding and all that stuff because you have to have like CPT codes to build tests and stuff. Uh,
hmm
they don't like dealing with Medicare, so
um
I don't understand that side of it. Or maybe it's just the people that are doing the work don't like dealing with them, not the people that make the money. I guess
maybe, but I
that's
mean,
probably what it is. Yeah.
but and here's the thing, I could be wrong about them liking me to be on Medicare, but from what that's what it felt like at least.
Uh
And
huh.
it was and plus I didn't have Medicaid. Wait, my Medicaid wasn't. I didn't have my Part D at the time, which I think would have probably paid for it. And
Right.
so they went the most expensive route first, and they're like, "Well, this is the best way." And I'm like, "Okay, but if it can come in pill form and go into my bloodstream that way,
Uh huh.
why aren't we doing it that way?"
You know what would be interesting to know about that is like what is actually the most efficient way? Like, did they make more money by doing it the other way, or do they like? I'd be interested in knowing that aspect of it. Like, is it really uh, what the driving factor is, and by who? Like, who is making the most money off that? The person that owns the hospital, the doctor. Like, who is the one? That would be interesting to know. I think.
Well, it's about cost, and and it's these types of things as the reason why I am I'm even through with just a single payer system. Like to me, it's like you know what? No, because the thing is that the hospitals will still try to price gouge the government, and get as much money as they possibly can anyway. So that's why I'm
You
like, you know
think
what?
so? Well, yeah, it depends on who owns them. I think that they
Yeah,
shouldn't be. I don't think healthcare should be profit motivated at all.
no,
I don't like essentials shouldn't be. Just I don't think schools should be profit motivated. I don't think.
no.
You know what's weird? When I lived in Sacramento for years, and I remember when they came and it our utilities were a municipality, like the city produced our electricity,
Uh huh.
and we pretty much you pay what it costs to produce it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
isn't very much. And then
Mm-hmm.
they convinced everybody to go to private, you know, uh, just completely did away with the municipality, and it was going to be better, and it only got worse and worse and worse and worse to this day, and it's still absolutely out of control there. And I don't know whose idea that was that thought that would be smart. Like
Mm-hmm.
they had to know that that is bull crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
The-
but they still sell stuff like that. Like, oh, the private sector will do this better than the government. No, they will not. I'm sorry.
No. And the
That's a
only reason
lie.
why that people will push back and say, well, the government doesn't do it right is because the private sector always cuts government funding so that it makes it worse. So they
Exactly, on
make it worse
purpose.
on purpose so that they can take it from the public sector into the private sector.
They've done that
And
to our
so,
schools. They've done that to our schools. They keep taking the budget and taking the budget and saying, "Oh, the schools are horrible."
yeah.
Well, of course they're horrible. You're not funding them.
Yeah. So this is always the pushback I have against libertarians is because they're like, well,
Yeah,
the government, they're no better at it. And it's like the reason why the government's no better at it is because the private corporations own the government, and then they cut government funding either by a
right.
death of a thousand cuts or they slash it, and then next thing you know, it ends up being worse. So then they have a reason to say, oh, see, the government doesn't work. And then next thing you know, then private enterprise takes it, and then they do it even worse. And so this is the grift of private corporations when it comes to especially essential needs. Like for instance, utilities and housing and
Yeah,
healthcare.
yeah.
And then when we try to
Food,
fight up against it, and food, yes, food.
food.
And when we try to fight up against it, Then
Medicine,
that's when they started to enact laws like Ron DeSantis did, where
life and death stuff.
you can't protest, you can't do any of these things to fight against it,
Ridiculous.
and so it's really idiotic. And
Yeah.
so, like for instance, people are gonna look at me crazy like this, but the people that were outside on the street in front of the Supreme Court's house protesting, I
Uh-huh.
applaud their
Me
efforts.
too. Me too. And you know
I
what? They
I
they give us no
applaud
choice. They are
because the
taking
thing,
away all means we have
yes,
of holding them into account. They're taking away all means we have. We don't have a choice. And for you to
yeah,
tell me I can't do this, no, you don't. Do you know where you live? Like, how do you? I'm going to do what I got to do, which is
yes,
what an American would do, right? Like,
yeah,
you think Americans are so freaking awesome. Well, that's what Americans do. They demand that you do what you're supposed to.
yeah,
That's what I see as patriotic. I don't
yeah.
like I care more about the Constitution than you do, apparently, right?
Well, of course. I mean,
And
they,
how many patriots though? Like libertarians too, they'll tell you, oh, the people that fought and died for this Constitution. You're not even willing to be uncomfortable for the Constitution. So who is more patriotic?
and my thing is that I mean, there are a few good things in the Constitution, but I mean, the Constitution is supposed to be changeable. I mean, look,
Yeah.
Cuba has voted
Oh,
to redo their constitution. Was it 20 back in 2019? They had a vote,
it's
on
democracy.
yeah, it's democracy.
That thing we claim we are the beacon of.
Yeah,
That
and
wonderful thing we spread around the world with our bombs.
yeah, spread.
Freaking
Yeah,
ridiculous. You
yeah.
know what though? The libertarian guys that say private is better and government does better, they have to totally write off the period, the most prosperous period in America was the period where our schools were so well funded. We had union memberships. We had, the government was doing university, schooling people. We got the best schools. We had the best everything at that point, and that was when there was so much more government involvement.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we wouldn't have education, if that didn't occur. And so I don't get their position at all. They have to totally disregard that to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
So
I
I don't know how
mean,
they get there. But
yeah.
libertarians, they don't want government at all, right? They think, other than like a military or something, right?
It's more of a cling to private enterprise.
So like
Um,
hyper capitalism.
from what I understand.
Hmm.
Um,
And like
and
who would run the justice system? Who would deal with the police and the fire departments? Like
it,
how
it
do you
it'd be done privately.
do you know that's being starting to be privatized too?
Oh, of
Like fire
course,
departments and stuff?
of course. Yeah,
That is the
yeah,
craziest thing I've ever heard.
yeah, yeah.
I can't
And then
believe
guess
someone
what?
would do that.
Guess what? Next thing you know, now you're going to have to get fire insurance plans, and then if fire companies come to put out your burning house, they're going to be like, "Are you in network?" And then you're going to be like, "No, I'm not in network. Sorry." Go
You know what,
someplace else.
JV? Myself, I have 3 grown children, and
Hmm.
myself and 2 of those grown children lost their homes to fires in California.
Oh no.
And I am telling you, thinking about that and is like, oh, what if that were the case? Like if there wasn't nobody to put it out, or wouldn't the whole state just keep burning? Like if there's not who owns the woods? How would you get the firefighters to go to the woods? Or I don't know. That's crazy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we lost all of it. 2 of my children and myself lost our homes that way. And that too, it looks to be, the cause of like PG&E. So, and that's the power company that is monopolized in California.
wow.
So yeah, and the insurance companies too. Like you can't even get fire insurance anymore, and they have all just bailed
Mm,
on
mm,
everyone.
yeah.
And it's 3 years later, and my middle son, still is not recovered. You know,
Hmm.
it was devastating, and there was nothing really for them. And it
Yeah.
even came up here to Oregon recently, like during COVID,
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
just kept spreading and spreading. And I was thinking, why aren't they? It didn't seem like they were trying to put it out.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
But
wasn't
all
here at the time, so
hmm But all these things that we're talking about, basically, it's at a point now where, like for instance, the protesting, that and making people who are comfortable uncomfortable.
Yeah,
That is a way to put pressure as far as a solution. The way that Rome does tour for the poor, it is very, it rhymes, and it really shakes hands with what, for instance, the Black Panthers were doing, as far as not just the free breakfast programs, but also the free
yeah,
clinics and things like that. And also,
making a
they,
difference.
yeah, and also they did, they actually were public safety officers in their neighborhoods too.
Right. Policing
So,
themselves and doing,
yeah. hmm
we have to do that. And what I noticed too, like I was reading recently, uh, some of the stuff that was done during like the Vietnam War days, and it
hmm
was about people have to see that happen. Like they can't even conceive of it.
hmm
If you say, we don't have a justice system, right? Like in dealing with our crooked politicians and all that stuff, we can't just go to our justice system and say these people need to be arrested because they've committed crimes, right? It doesn't. They don't care, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like no one's going to go arrest Nancy Pelosi, no matter how many. If she commits crimes on video, no one
hmm
is going to arrest Nancy Pelosi.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
No.
so I think we have to do all of that ourselves. We have to become that. And initially it's going to seem crazy, to people. Uh, but if they see it happening on a regular basis, that's what gives them, maybe it doesn't have to be this way. And
hmm
that's just the little hints they get. And without seeing it somehow, it doesn't exist for them. They can't imagine it another way. Like they have to be able to see something. I don't know how else to describe. They don't have the imagination to see it any way other than the way that it is.
hmm I like this point by True Sarong.
Mm-hmm.
Says JB, we need to fundraise and send our people to the Amazon, not just to help, but to learn medicine from shamans.
Yeah,
I honestly don't see any issue with that message.
yeah. My son was going to go down and live with shamans.
Really?
Yeah, and I thought he was crazy, but he showed me the kinds of things they were doing, that they were building down there, and it was just astonishing. I was just like, oh my gosh, like
hmm
he wanted to do that for a bit, but he ended up falling in love, so that went down. But those kinds of things, they are very communal, right? Like
Yeah.
they take care of each other and they see it as their survival to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine if we did, but we're not going to get there that point anytime soon. That
hmm
is just not going to happen. But things that we do really
hmm
do make a difference. And Rome, I'm glad you brought up Rome. I absolutely adore him. Uh, I really do. I think I'd like for him to be president if possible. I know he wouldn't really do well in that job because he'd tell them all to screw off, and I'm doing
hmm
this, and he'd be killed immediately. But there's in the Vietnam era, the way they got people to pay attention and notice what is wrong. A lot of it was forcing the churches themselves. Like we talked last time about churches. Where the hell are the churches with all of this corruption in their government? And they don't seem to have any motivation to do anything. Like I don't understand that. And I see them, they're always passing around that plate, right, to collect money. Where's that money going? What are they doing that's improving the community? And they were having that same problem back then, that the churches just didn't pay attention to that kind of thing. And so they would send people to the dang churches during, sermons. And, they'd come in there and disrupt the service and say, look, people are dying over here. You're Christian. What are you doing for the people that are dying? Why are you sitting here? Are you really Christian? Like calling that out, making them do what Jesus would do, basically. He
Uh.
wouldn't be sitting here.
Uh.
It got them
What?
in the streets somehow.
Whether.
Rome needs to do that. He needs to go to the churches and just raise hell in there.
what now? Whether
He might get arrested, right? That's what the
oh,
first thing I thought.
definitely, they're considered
Well, but
private
he needs to
property.
keep doing
But
it.
but whether you are an atheist, agnostic, or theist, whichever you believe, whatever. According to the Bible, this was a problem back in Jesus' day too.
Yeah, ignoring
So
them.
let's be honest with you, it hasn't changed in 2,000 years.
Okay, but
So
there are bursts of it, where
yeah,
they rise to the occasion when they're motivated by something. So we need to
yeah.
motivate them. We know they will if you motivate them, if they recognize, hey, they have some responsibility in their government falling apart and people being just, I don't know, what would you call it? We're completely oppressed, I think, but someone from another country would laugh at me and be like, I'm privileged, where I sit. But they gotta recognize that, and I think they've lost that somehow. They've I don't know, like writing a check to charity seems to absolve them. I guess I don't know. I don't get that. I don't
Some of,
understand how
some of
Christians stopped taking care of people.
some of them never had it, and then it started to blossom during for from some Protestants
Hmm.
because they saw how, especially like the Catholic Church was behaving,
Right.
especially with all the riches and opulence that they were obtaining.
Yeah.
But even still, the Protestant churches they got co-opted as well, and so then
The
now they're
evangelicals
involved.
are the worst today. They're the very worst.
I mean, well,
They are basically teaching that wealthy people are wealthy because God blesses them, like literally. When
yeah,
it says in the Bible that rich people aren't going to heaven, dude.
yeah,
I mean,
but
come on. How do you convince them of that? Like, do they not read the Bible?
yeah, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. What and there are some people who are theists who are fighting alongside of us. One of them who I have a lot of respect for is Jabari Morris. He's a socialist, and he looks at how these religious institutions are operating, and they also are part of the oppression as well. Look, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, you know, it's Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King
Yeah.
Jr., but he was a socialist too. And so he, was going up against the powers that be, which a lot of them were also deeply religious. And some of these same,
And there should have been
people,
so many more of him, because there were so many
there should have
churches. There
been.
should have been tons of them, and there weren't.
There should have been, but there weren't
Isn't
because
that
they
interesting?
got co opted too.
Yeah.
Look, anybody who's religious, especially Christian religious, that are watching the streams, what's the difference between them and the scribes and Pharisees of 2,000 years ago? No difference. So, to be
Right.
honest with you, you know, you also literally have to fight against the religious leaders as well because they are part of the opium of the masses that lull us to sleep. And when it comes to our, achieving liberation for
Right.
getting our material needs met because they will tell you, oh, don't protest, just pray to God. And it's like,
Ugh.
no, get your ass out in the street and use what God gave you. That's the thing. It's
Okay.
like, so
So
that's
Jesus,
the crazy
Jesus
part.
supposedly has a hotline to God, right? Like
Yep.
Jesus could say to God, "I need this for whatever." He still had to go out and help people. Like
Well, I
he
mean,
was
if we're going to go
he
by
had
that,
the
then
phone number, and he still had to go out
well,
and help people.
if we're going to go by that, then that means it's best that we organize. And I mean, that's something that you were talking about too, because I mean,
Yes,
sticking with the topic of talking about solutions or the stream, talking about uh,
bringing it to
basically,
their attention when it isn't normally,
I
right?
mean, I mean, would it be too harsh to say that we need to spook politicians?
What do you mean spook? I think we need to burn them. I don't. I think we should get torches, and I really do. I mean, I think even if it was just for the spectacle of it,
Okay.
right? Even if it isn't intended to harm anybody, just the spectacle of it, in order to get the attention of people, because we're
Hmm.
just going to be ignored unless we do outrageous things, and we're going to be ignored if we don't break the law, and we're going to be ignored if we don't uh, do whatever we got to do. You know, I really think that I think it would be a good idea to like start a fund that, we can get some buses maybe and start, have like buses in each state, and then have them go pick up all the homeless people, all the disabled people, the retired people, anybody that's unemployed, anybody that doesn't have to work every day, like, and stay in a certain area, and take them all to the capital, thousands of them, like thousands of them. And the
Mhm.
people that many of it, like some people can't do that. They can't go to the Capitol if they wanted to, because they have to feed their kids, they have to do these things, but they could help someone else get there, right?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could sponsor people, they could, here, I'll pay for someone to get there, kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I really think we could feel like, I mean, I don't think that would be that difficult a task.
Hmm.
But that wouldn't be the only thing. It has to be so many other things as well at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
we need different people doing we need to speak to the people that are that have fame, that don't use it as well, and we need to pressure them to do something. I mean, because they are also choosing not to, aren't they? The people at the Oscars, the thing I saw with that Will Smith, that really bothered me. I was so shocked by that for some reason, that
Mm.
he would think it's acceptable to do that. Like, what happened to him that made that was really weird to me. Did that shock you? He got up and hit someone. What is
Uh.
going on in his head? Like, I don't get that. But look, what he can do that, but he has no concern whatsoever with the starving children. With that makes me so angry. I get so angry when I think about that. People in positions that could save people's lives and choose not to. For what? Like,
Well,
I do
I
not
mean,
get
you have a
that. I don't get that. And maybe
well.
that's my dad in me. Like, that's my dad coming out of there. Like, what the hell is wrong with you people?
Well, I mean, look, they're propagandized too. They're brainwashed too.
But they can still,
We
that's why
just
I'm
have.
saying, that's exactly why I'm saying, if that's what it is, it's a brainwashing, and they're in that circle, like we talked about earlier, where everybody praises them, they never do anything wrong. They're in that circle. So how do we get them to look the other way? How do we get them to notice that? That's what we have to do. We have to show it to them all the time. Every time we get a chance. Look what's going on over here. What are you doing? Look what's going on. Just keep harassing them if necessary. Don't let them be
Yeah.
comfortable in public. Don't let them be like, hey, what the hell are you doing? You know, you have all this power and you aren't doing anything. People need to do that. They have to do that to our politicians, to our celebrities, to even radio stations. Be like, what the hell are you guys doing? And companies, your local grocery store, what the hell are they doing? Like, you just have to remind them every single day, because they're not going to find that themselves, right? It is not going to leak into their psyche. It has to
Well,
be
I mean,
pushed.
well, people
You
need to
have to
be
get in the
reminded of
way.
their. Yeah, people need to be reminded of their power,
And
right?
why their action is necessary for them to live with themselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
Redemption, is so therapeutic. If what's sad too is they have no idea how much more they will get from doing that than they ever got from fame. People don't
Hmm.
realize how much you get from giving to people.
Hmm.
Like, I sent you that chair. Remember that? You know why I did that? You know why I sent that chair to you?
What?
Because you like inspired that in me. And
Really?
that's what I'm
Mhm.
talking about, inspiring people to do things. you
Thank
know
you.
I'm not in no privileged position, but for some reason I wanted you to keep doing what you're doing, and that was making it hard for you, and I could make it easier until I got the chair. And then I'm like, then you told me you didn't have your desk ain't set up, and so I'm like sweating that and trying to get Rome to put your desk together. But I don't know what you have to inspire people to
Yeah.
do that, and you do it. So
Thank
you need to do that with me. We need to do that everywhere. We need to, like, look, they need you, and you can do this, and why aren't you? And just not let them be comfortable anywhere. And as far as the politicians, them especially, You know, if I were a politician, I would never go to a restaurant because I would know that someone in the kitchen is spitting in my food. Because if I was serving a politician, I damn sure spit in it. And I know, they eat out a lot, right? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
eat out a lot.
yeah.
Their staff too, the people that, work for them, I know they hate them as well. They can't possibly like them, right? How dumb is that? They're dumb enough to treat the people that serve them bad. Like, that's really dumb. But they shouldn't be comfortable anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that one of the goals to really help change is to make the comfortable uncomfortable.
Yep.
Um, one of the things CJ! Yeah,
What?
yeah. It's good to love you too, CJ.
Oh, CJ's here. I love him
Yeah.
too. He's sleepy eyed.
Uh,
He gets mad though, like
but
I
he
like
is, yeah,
he's like, can you
but
believe this? His
but
eyes.
he will wake you up. He'll
And
be
he
like,
just throws
wake
his
up.
pins down. He's like, what is the matter with you? You're not serious. Get away from me.
Yeah, yeah, but you know what? One of the things I think that and this is definitely true of people like CJ, Sabby, Rome, Nick, and
Nick,
Josana.
Josana, yeah.
One thing that's true about them
Zoya.
is that uh, yeah, Zoya, she's a friend of RBN.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
yeah, she's extremely brilliant, by the way. I just got to say that. I got to
Yeah, I
whenever.
was harassing her a bit because I wanted to talk to her about what was going on in the Ukraine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's brilliant and she's great on those topics too. But one of the things that I think that we are very aware of is the necessity to, if a strategy isn't working, trying to change, trying to go in a different direction.
But the rest of
Because
the country is totally opposed to that. Right? Doesn't it seem that way? I'm really shocked actually how much coverage you guys are still giving to election stuff. Like that bothers me a bit because we're done with that, right? Like, why are we? That seems so wasteful to me. I know that especially like what who is it that does what is it Hardlands
hmm
media? Who is that guy? I can't remember his
uh,
name right now.
Kit Cabela.
Kit,
hmm
right? That's his name, Kit.
Yeah.
So he like still in the game. I think he still wants to cover the primary crap, you know. And why are
hmm
you doing that, man? Like he just can't let go of that last little shred or something, or people still want us to vote. I don't get that. I don't get that. Why are we talking about voting at
No.
all?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, and allow me to give a little pushback because here's the thing: people are still interested in it, and then once they come to the channel and we start talking about how ineffective they are, and then we direct people either to direct action or third parties, then that's also an end for us to do that. But at the same
Okay.
time, it's also important for us to know what the people who are in power, what are they doing, and what are they saying. And
Well, I
so
realize we
this
have
is
to know what they're doing, but what I'm saying is like most of the gossip stuff, like, oh, what's she doing here and what I don't know, the campaign stuff just bothered me. But actually I hadn't thought of that aspect of it. What you just said is that
yeah.
they need to be in touch with those people to maybe bring them out, I guess. To hit
Yep.
them on the head or something.
Well, no, I mean, it's not always to hit them on the head. Sometimes, some people are different. Some people, they just need a little coaxing because they kind of feel some disdain towards the system, but they need encouragement. Sometimes some people just need permission to do it, and so they don't
Yeah,
see
and I
many
tend to
people like
forget
us.
that too. I
Yeah,
sit and think that everybody knows all the things we know, and they
yeah,
don't. And I do that a lot. I'm like, what
yeah,
is wrong with these people? They don't know what I know. That's what's wrong with
yeah,
them, obviously.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And the thing is that some people, and we talk about class issue a lot, and
yeah.
there may be somebody who may be more conservative minded that also it has a disdain as well. They may have just as much disdain for the Republican Party as we do for the Democratic Party,
I'm
and
sure
they'll
they
see
do.
us and they'll be like, you know what, these guys. I know, socially, they're on the left, but they
Hmm.
got some really good analysis about class. Maybe just maybe, I need to listen to them a little bit more. And
Hmm.
I've literally had people come onto my channel and talk about, yeah, I'm a conservative, but I like what you're saying. And
I'm curious, what do you think of like what has occurred recently? Like all of a sudden, the Republicans are talking like Democrats, and Democrats are Republicans now. It's really creepy. Have you noticed that? Like
it's
all that
optics.
shit with the kids, feeding the babies. The babies
It's
don't have the formula. That is so weird to me.
it's optics.
Isn't that creepy?
But it's a show. Look, both parties are they're just two factions of the same party, so
I
therefore,
realize that, but it's
you know,
still. It's
yeah,
like, do
it
they
is.
get together and make that decision to do that, or does it occur like organically somehow? Like, I'm very interested in that.
It could. I really don't know, but I mean, at the same time,
They're weird, right?
it's a good cop, bad cop type of strategy. That's from what I can tell.
But is
Um,
it it's something they're aware of and choosing to do and making a plan to do that, or like that's what I want to know.
they're not dumb.
Huh. What that meeting would be like, huh? Like, okay, this is what we're gonna do.
It's not
Give
like
anything
well,
to be
I
there.
mean, they meet all the time. I mean, they met to make sure that Bernie Sanders doesn't get the
Yeah.
presidency. I mean, they did that too. So I mean, like I said, they're not dumb, but
But do
hyper
you think that is intentional? Like that is what they want to portray for us to start leaning Republican? Is that the goal? Like, what is the goal of that? Do you think
it's
they
really
know
to
they're going to lose? Right.
eh,
That's what it seems like.
it's to keep up appearances. Yeah. Um
I don't
yeah,
know.
basically. I like what Nick says. I'm sorry, CJ says. CJ said Nick is the political nerd, Rome is the man of the people, JB is the compassionate one. Thank you so much. Sabby is the professional assassin. I
Sure.
love that. She'll love that too. Josana is Miss Burn It Down, and I am righteous anger.
You know what?
Ah,
Every single one of those people, though, what you all have absolutely in common is that you give a shit.
I think that's the point, though.
I
I
mean,
think,
you give a shit. You clearly care about what happens to people, not just yourself. And
but
so many don't,
you okay? This may be kind of a line in the sand type of statement, but it's whatever. You cannot be on the left. You cannot be anti-capitalist. You cannot be anti-imperialist if you do not love humanity.
Right.
You just can't. And
No.
I know there's some people who may be more introverted out there, be like, I just don't like people, and it's like that's fine, but you can not like people but still love humanity.
Yeah.
And so the thing is
And
that
that still doesn't mean whether you liked it or not doesn't mean you'd wish harm on them. Like
exactly. Because the thing is that people you have to realize that you're part of a cosmic whole. You have to
yeah,
realize that you're part of a planetary whole of people that when one person on the other side of the planet hurts, that means indirectly it's going to affect you. And the exact same thing. If if you're hurt, then they hurt. And so it's basically a thought process of your pain is my pain, your joy is my joy. So in
uh,
order for me to have joy, I have to make sure that you have joy. In order for me to have good health, I want to make sure you have good health. I want to make sure that the Amazon is healthy, so I'm healthy. And
right.
then if I'm healthy, then I can be healthy enough to take care of my fellow human beings. And
Right.
then
You
they
can
can
be
be
you can
healthy
be
enough to
compassionate
take
and
care of the
giving even
Amazon.
selfishly, right? For selfish reasons.
Even in a selfish way, if you
Yeah.
think about it in that way, in a symbiotic or I forgot the
I'm
name.
gonna be nice to my neighbor because I don't want my neighbor being doing mean shit to me. You know?
Well, I mean, it's basically just doing, what you can for other people. I mean, that's basically what it is.
Well, doing what you would hope they would do for you if you were in that situation.
I mean, isn't that the golden rule?
I mean, period. What if that were you?
Yeah.
Would you want people
It's
to
called
ignore you?
empathy, though. It's called empathy, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
And
absent a lot in society today. In
True.
fact, I have friends, one a very close friend of mine that I'm just shocked at sometimes the things she says. Like she'll see homeless people, at the grocery store, and she'll say, "Oh, poor dog." I'm just like, dog? That's a family. Why are you sweating the dog? I didn't understand that. But that's how she is. She's like that. She's like, well, the dog didn't choose that. Oh, the people did? Some people are
But
like
that's the
that.
mindset, though, right?
Yeah, that's sad. Do you know how much money people give to like dog shelters and stuff?
Oh, I wouldn't be
Well,
surprised.
children starve?
Yeah.
That's so weird to me. I love animals too, but dang, that just seems odd.
I mean, or like for instance, people will be like, "Oh, we need to give money to the children," but they don't want to give money to their parents.
Who?
Liberals, conservatives.
To their
Oh,
parents. What do you
yeah,
mean? I don't know
people
what you
are.
mean.
Okay, so I put out a tweet a few weeks ago where everybody's like, "Oh, we cut child poverty," but the thing is
Oh,
that how do you cut child poverty without
I see.
cutting their parents' poverty? But then you're going to say, "Well, they chose that life," so then you're going to also graduate that to the children's poverty too. In order to be able to cut or eliminate child poverty, you have to eliminate poverty. Period. And so this is the mindset. It's like,
How
well,
could they think that someone would ever choose that? Like,
that's
I,
part of
I,
brainwashing.
that is not a choice.
But that's the part of the brainwashing, though. And so and to borrow a phrase from Noam Chomsky, that's part of the manufacturing consent. They
Yeah.
manufacture consent to allow people to suffer, even though it is a systemic issue instead of an individualistic issue. And so that's why these people make excuses in their head for the suffering of people. And then on top of it, I was talking to a friend. He was in a debate group, and he was telling me how people will say and make excuses for saying that people like me, black people, somehow don't feel as much pain as white people. So therefore, it's a dehumanization
Wait,
tactic.
he said that to you?
No, not he said that. He said he's debating people who are making excuses to say that we don't feel
Really?
pain as much. Yeah, yeah. And
Like
so
literally, like you don't have pain sensors.
yeah, like our pain receptors aren't as plentiful as somebody who's
Who
white.
told him that?
The medical community has been pushing this. Wait, Janice. The
Yeah.
medical community has been pushing this for literally over 100 years.
You're kidding me.
Yes, and some doctors even still believe this, that they think, hell,
What?
the father of of gynecology, he studied on women without anesthetic, and he did it on black slave women. And this is how he figured out how the woman's anatomy works.
But he didn't
And
do it to a white woman?
no, he did it.
Then
He
how does he
there
know
were
it's not the
no,
same?
they were alive and they were black and they were slaves, and that's how he did it.
Okay, but if he's saying that they don't feel it as much, how does he know that if he hasn't done that to a white one? Because you have to do it to both to see who feels it more. How could you just do one side? That
But that's part of the dehumanization so that they can see us as less than. That's the part about it.
is just, ugh.
It is disgusting, isn't it?
Oh, that's
But
gross.
but this is what the oppressive class
Wow.
does. This is what white supremacy as well as capitalism, oppression, uh, you know, colonialism, this is what they do. Because in order to attain power, you
Right.
have to dehumanize the people who are being
Yeah.
oppressed so that you rationalize in your mind, oh, they're not really human. So we can actually do all these horrific things to them.
And
This is
not
one of the
just that.
reasons.
They actually, like that girl that I was telling you that, worries about the dog when she sees a homeless family.
Yeah,
She also, she just does not have a clue what white privilege is. She thinks that is such some bogus crap because she's poor, so that means she don't have white privilege. She doesn't understand it. That like,
yeah.
and you can't make her either. I've tried. You cannot. But the only thing I ever finally convinced her of was like, well, you know for sure that you are never going to be pulled over because you're white. She understood that, and that was like the only, and I couldn't get her any further.
Then that is white privilege.
But she don't see it that way. She just, I don't
Because
know,
the thing is that she's conditioned to think that privilege means
means money,
means only financial versus
right?
privilege actually being a systemic issue.
And it's far more than money. It's far more,
Yeah, because
so
the
much
thing is,
more.
okay, so next time you talk to her, tell her your privilege also you will not also be denied by banks a loan into getting a home in a certain area because of the color of your skin.
Right. Yeah. Nobody's
Because
going to judge you, okay?
yeah,
Because you're not wearing a giant tattoo on you that says that you're not the same as him.
yeah, and so you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
she doesn't
so
get it.
yeah. But the thing is, this is why dialogue is important and constantly talking because you probably place a seed in her head.
Oh, I
So,
bug her all the time. I put
oh.
seeds all over the place. And
you're
I
just
drive her
like
crazy.
you're
I
just
drive
like
her crazy.
spreading the seeds everywhere. You're just like, I'm gonna put the seeds in everywhere.
Because that one aspect was so just crazy to me. Like, how can you
Yeah,
and and she is a good person. She is not, evil, or
of course. Yeah.
she is an honorable person. She would never lie, cheat, or steal, but she has this belief, and it affects the way she looks at other people. And I don't know.
Well,
I feel like I have to, because no one else is going to tell her, She doesn't surround herself with people that will tell her that. Like,
okay, I'm gonna make a statement. Brainwashed people aren't bad. There's just the brainwashing makes them do bad things.
I don't know.
So this is one of the reasons why it's best for us to continue to have these conversations so that we can help, get that out of their brain. But at the same time, you also have some people that want to stay willfully ignorant, which means it's like, okay, you're too far gone. So I'm going to move you to the side and keep on moving.
Yeah, and you know what? That is the biggest problem. That's why, in talking about what to do, I think that is the biggest thing we have to address is the lack of collective responsibility for anything. Like, they don't. It isn't their problem to most
Hmm.
people. If
Yeah.
they're not struggling themselves,
Yeah.
they don't care. And
Hmm.
how are you going to get them to care? And you have to uh, keep reminding them that they have some responsibility in it. They have
Hmm.
some responsibility to their fellow man, if nothing else, especially if they call themselves Christian.
Yeah.
I get so mad when people say America, is a Christian nation, because unless Jesus drops bombs and starves kids, this is not Christian at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I can't stand that. I cannot stand people to say it, and I think it's an abomination to me.
Hmm.
Jesus Christ would never starve a child,
No.
ever.
No.
So
You know.
don't tell me Jesus Christ wouldn't execute someone.
Yeah.
And they're still crucifying people in Saudi Arabia. They
Yeah.
crucify people there. I just found that out recently too, and I'm like, oh my god!
Hmm.
But we have to. We got away from that again. The what we have to do, and something else I wanted. I don't want to get away without saying this is like the international coalition thing is like one of the best things I think we can do,
Yeah. Yes.
because they're gonna make it as hard on us as possible here.
Yeah.
And I was talking to, who Marcus is from like the Political Matrix.
Marcus. Yeah. Marcus Cage. Yeah. Great
Oh,
guy.
I shouldn't have watched him last night, and I argued with him back and forth because he thinks it's just pointless. There's no way that we'll ever overthrow this problem. That they'll starve us. And it made me bummed out really bad. Like, I wish I hadn't talked to him, because I got to go up tomorrow and tell everybody how to do that. But even he is he's not thinking of things that he should be considering in making that assumption.
Mm.
And that is all the damn people in the world. He's thinking it's just us. It isn't. We're enormous. And Jill Sana, I'll never forget, it actually brought tears to my eyes. She said something that they've been waiting for us. They've been wanting us to get on the bandwagon for a long time. And they've just been waiting. And they've dealt with this shit for years.
Yeah.
And they want to help us. And that just touched me so much. Because I think about what people must think of Americans. Like, I would be disgusted. How dare you come and destroy my country? And while you are having a party, I just, I was so touched by the number of people that recognize that it isn't us. We do give a crap. I was glad for that. But yeah, I think that's something too that we gotta push. The more international involvement we can have, the better.
True. This is one of the reasons why it was, the anti-imperialist summit was
Yes, it was
so
brilliant.
important. Uh, Shout out to Nick and Josana for coming up with that idea. You
And
guys
it's got to
are
keep
that was
going. And it's got to get bigger and bigger. As we need to
yeah.
recruit as many countries as we can,
Yes.
and just create the world we want.
Yeah, especially from the global south. You know, um, you look at a lot of the nations, especially in the Central and South America and the Caribbean, all the African nations. Like, look what's going on in Somalia right
Yeah,
now.
I know that I can't even. That makes me cry. I
Yeah.
don't get that. While we celebrate Nazis,
Hmm.
I can't tell you how angry that makes me. And when I see people like the Ukraine flag, it makes me nauseous. Now, it's so bothersome. But you know what? So another thing I can't get out of here without mentioning, because I think this is super important, is we've had a couple wins recently that I don't think we look at as wins, and they should be
Okay.
celebrated.
Okay.
And I don't think we did that, and I think we should like have a celebration for that. I mean, actually have a party for it. One of them most recently was the Ministry of Truth. That's not going to
Yes.
happen, right? That's not going to happen.
Okay. I hate to pop
Well,
your
I mean,
your
that
balloon.
itself, right? That's been postponed and gotten away with. They were about to implement that,
Well,
okay?
okay.
And we
So
said, hell
a,
no.
a postponement doesn't mean it's still not
Hey,
going to happen.
hey,
I
it
think
made
I
them
think
scared. It made them scared.
it
And they're like,
did,
oh, we can't do this right now,
but
right?
here's the
That's a
thing.
win as far as I'm concerned.
It's a win, but I think the win is temporary.
That's why we
You know,
have to keep doing it.
of course, yeah, yeah, definitely,
Yeah, no, they're not going to get that.
yeah.
And
So I
I
think
might self-immolate to make that to prevent that one. I might just go and set myself on fire to prevent it. I mean, literally, because I think that's just disgusting, and that's the end of us to me. Because that's
yeah,
coming after us personally, independent people that are reporting anything. All of
yeah,
us. That's us. That's goodbye to us, is what that is.
yeah, yeah,
So that is the most important. I think we haven't mentioned that enough. That yeah, we did have a role in preventing that from occurring as quickly as they'd like. She had to run and hide, basically, that woman,
she's
right?
creepy. Yeah,
Isn't she? Isn't she?
yeah,
Well, I also want to make sure everybody knows that she's a Zionist Jew. And so is Mayorkas.
mm,
And I just, every time I see they're going to do something really bad and there's like some weird department being set up or some new intelligence, I always find out who's heading it and if they're Zionists, because they almost always are.
yeah, yeah.
And I think they must get together too and have their own parties or something and discuss, how we're going to manipulate these guys. I
Maybe,
think they are like the very first psychiatrists because they know how to manipulate psychology so well that it's astonishing.
maybe I would actually like to meet a psychologist who's on the left like us. I would love to meet one of
Dude,
them.
that was my major in college,
Really?
and
Okay.
it really there is one answer that just cannot be found, and it's about what's going on in the minds of like people of greedy, um, what do you call them? I guess they're narcissists. Uh, you just they cannot be understood.
Hmm.
Nothing can explain that, and that's always been fascinating to me.
Hmm. Yeah.
Always, like, what makes someone that way? Like, it's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, like, especially when you're like, the people at the top I know are psychopaths, and that's, it's pointless to even think you can convince them of anything. It's not possible. They're like they're almost a different species because their brain is different,
Yeah.
right? They don't
Yeah.
have the same brain as us, and they're kind of aliens. So, what are we going to do about that if they're ruling the world? I mean, if psychopaths have taken over your government, that's the same as aliens taking over your government, and they don't give a shit about you. And you need to think about that, what you might
I
want to do to
mean,
prevent
I mean,
it.
I mean, if Russia was able to do it, if Cuba was able to do it,
Right?
I'm just saying.
Do
But
you
yeah,
think Russia was?
do I think what?
Do you think Russia is on the up and up? I'm very concerned about it. Like, I've always been pro Russia. Like, I've seen Putin. I loved that he stepped in for Syria. I loved that he was helping Venezuela. And
Um,
but Marcus now has me sweating that.
uh,
About China and Russia going to be the next empire, and that's what this was. That's just building up the Russian currency. And oh man, they just gave me stuff to think about that kind of bums me out. Like,
I
oh
I
no.
I don't know. I it feels like that well, ever since the end of the Soviet Union, the Russia has been going downhill in that respect. But
I thought they'd been climbing. To me, they've risen rather than fallen. I
I
mean,
mean,
according to the people that live there and
look,
the economic status of them and stuff, the only reason Russia's even able to withstand all this lunatic sanctioning that we're doing is because they prepared themselves for that and made themselves self-sustaining. That's the only
uh,
reason they have any ability to do that, right?
I mean, I'm not as privy to the information about Russia as I should be at this point in time. I
Mhm.
had to look deeper into it more. Zoya would be a better person to ask that question.
Yeah,
But as far as from what I can observe, is Russia has oligarchs, so I think they've actually fallen further. So
really, you do think that, huh? I don't. I don't see it that way at all.
yeah. Well, uh, look
Because
at
Putin is
a
doing
billionaire.
things that are against the oligarchs.
Putin is a billionaire. Putin is an
Oh, I'm
oligarch
sure.
himself.
I'm
So
sure.
I mean, he has his own class self interest too. I mean, I'm just saying that
He's
he's
also
probably,
KGB. That kind of.
but I mean, he from what I can observe, he has he has a little bit more moral integrity than Biden, but it's not by a lot. But at the same time, the denazification, I'm cool with that though. So I just that's the only thing I can pretty much
Did
say.
you? Is Savvy still in here? Did the woman that was called her the other night defending, saying that Russia shouldn't have invaded Ukraine? Did you see that show?
I
Oh,
did.
that woman drove me crazy. I wanted to. Oh, I was losing it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, back to as far as, talking about solutions, one of the
Yeah.
things that I actually wanted to talk about was one of our viewers, Eric. Um, he's typically in the chats. I don't see him in here today, but shout out to you, Eric. I'm going to share my screen really quick, and he actually put out a web page of some possible solutions, that can be applied, which I think is actually very interesting.
Okay.
And it's at erictred.com.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
know that
yeah,
name somehow.
yeah,
I don't.
hmm yeah. And here it talks about. He says the key ideas. It says it's the top 0.01% versus the rest of us.
Hmm.
Always follow the money, and we need real democracy outside the duopoly.
Right.
And if people wanted to go the electoral route, if people are still wanting to do that, I say 20% electoral and then 80% direct action. But as far as this is concerned, it's like number one, construct a list of demands for systemic change, which is something
Hmm.
that wasn't done during the George Floyd protests. There
Or
was,
Occupy.
yeah, or occupy. Like there needs to be a cohesive list of demands that weren't made out. And I think that's something that those of us in independent media could help foster, because
Absolutely.
I and I hate to put it this way. but this is what the oppressors do. And I say, look, we may have to think this way too.
Yeah,
Never,
we actually we have to be them. Actually, we have to use the same things they do.
okay, yeah. So what they said is never let a good crisis go to waste,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
So capitalizing on what's going on the ills of society in order to help society have more power is
Uh-huh.
something that we
Can
should
do as
take it
well.
upon ourselves. So,
Agreed.
for instance, those of us who are part of MCSC, RBN, the INN, people are part of Heartlands Media, all of us, when it comes to an event happening, which will come, by the way, it will happen, then we can say, look, we understand their anger. This is the best way to harness that anger and to create change. These are
Right.
the list of
Provide
demands.
solution.
Yeah, provide solution, and like this should be your list of demands. If you're going out to that protest, go get on the bullhorn and put out this list of demands and disseminate this to the people and make this, the narrative that that this is what we demand, and make this the idea so that
Rather
people
than
can
slogans that
exactly.
don't convey the message. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then number two is ask every candidate and representative, do you support this? What are you doing to enact it? Even though we know that they will never do it,
We do
it's
that
like,
already, though, don't we?
uh,
I don't think that
some
works at all.
okay, okay.
They lie.
The people who ask that, okay, the people who typically ask that are people can, who the politicians really can never do no wrong in their mind, because you're never going to see an AOC or an Ilhan Omar on RBN. You're never
Ever
going to see them
again, when
go
she
there.
would have before, though, right?
Well, when they were running initially
Right?
first,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, they're never
Now
going to
you
do
don't
that.
exist. So,
But people like the Max Blumenthals, people who are like the Francos, people who are
yeah, I like him too. Frank is
yeah,
pretty good.
our friend from Pro Peace Report, all these independent journalists who literally came up to him and asked them these questions.
Hmm.
These are the people who have been doing it. Who I just want to give applause to all of them for doing it.
Yeah, they
But
have to be the media.
yeah, but
That's been out of necessity, right?
enlist everybody else to also be that journalist who
Right.
comes up to them with your phone and camera in hand and be like, okay, do you support this? What are you doing to enact it?
Yeah.
And just hammer them. Number three, it says if they are not on board, then call them out what they are: corrupt. Yell it at them. Follow them around with
Right.
signs. Be loud. Be rude.
Exactly.
Make their
Exactly.
lives living
Drive them
hell until
crazy.
yup, drive them
Yeah.
crazy until they get real about representing 99%. I don't care if I have to stand next to you at a urinal and look at you and be like, hey
Yeah.
man, so about nationalization of healthcare, do you support it? And then out next to the stall, my phone comes up and I'm on their face. I'm like, do you support it? And they'll be like, dude, I'm at the urinal. I don't give a fuck if you're at the urinal. Do
They're
you
gonna make
support it
that a
or not?
crime.
And and guess what? They can if they want to. But here's the thing: they can. You cannot take a piss without people getting in your face and asking you what you're prepared to do. Because guess what? You're literally holding the lives of people
Yeah.
in your hand. So therefore, I don't care. If you have to take a full bladder to go at
Yeah.
home to take a
You know
piss,
what else?
then
Hey,
okay. But
you know what
guess
else?
what?
Listen,
People's lives matter more than your bladder right now.
remind them too. You got to keep reminding them that they rely on the impoverished as well. You're going to be at a
Yeah.
restaurant later, and that person is going to be serving you. Don't forget that.
I
You
used to
got to
work in a
eat the food
restaurant.
they bring you.
Don't
You
let
need to remember
see.
that.
I see. Here's the thing. I would never spit in somebody's food because that's just gross. But I
I would.
would make their food take a long
Oh,
ass
I would.
time.
I
I
would.
look. I'd be going like this. Like, oh, they want a New York strip. Okay, all right. Where did I put the New York strips?
You don't
Oh
even necessarily no wait.
no.
You don't even necessarily have to spit in it. Just tell them you did.
I mean, you can scare him that way, but I don't know. But
Yeah, yeah.
I probably would just like
This is how you treat
take
me.
a
This is how I
super
treat
long
you.
time. Yeah, I'll probably just take a super long time, and I'd be like, well, maybe you just need to vote harder. Maybe your New York strip will come sooner.
Maybe your speech
Anyway,
wasn't prepared well.
yeah, maybe that. Let me see. Number 4. Yes. Provide zero support for Democrats and Republicans until they start enacting demands. No votes, no money, no praise. Here's the thing. I will not even give you an inch until you give me an inch.
Right.
Like,
But then you're called a
all
purist. Remember that? Did you get that?
then then the hell with it. I'm a purist. Because the
Oh,
thing
I
is that
was
if I don't care,
always called that.
I don't care anymore. I don't care because the
No,
thing
but I don't
is
think being a
that
purist is bad. Maybe
it look,
it's
if you're
good.
gonna call me a purist for screaming at the top of my lungs because I'm in a burning building and wanting you
Right.
to put the fire out, then fine. Then fine. Because the thing is, we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we're sick and tired of people just talking a good game. So that's the thing. So
And
guess what?
allowing people to get away with things because it's not that big a deal, like,
Oh
oh,
yeah,
who
yeah, yeah,
cares if they took
yeah,
money from him?
yeah.
Everybody does that. You can't help it.
You
Bull.
can't help it. They
Bull.
all take money from corporations. We
Because you
can't.
let them.
Don't get me. Ooh, don't get me started. By the way,
That's up to
Eric,
us.
this list is fire, bro. Bro, I should have brought this out sooner. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. Oh, hang on. Until they start acting demands. This is the point. Do not give ice cream to a kid that's behaving badly before dinner.
Right.
Why are you rewarding people before the act is done? And by act is done, I mean actually doing the fight.
Legislation.
I mean doing the fight. And not when it's convenient, like, oh, I'm going to finally put this legislation into, to be voted for right
Right
after an
before I'm
election.
going up for re-election.
Yeah, no. Right after we have an election and then there's a Republican majority. And then it's like, oh, well, we tried it, but the Republicans. Like, no.
Well, we also need to infiltrate the Republican Party. We need to show up at those, not just the liberal ones. We need to ask those questions at Republican parties. And that's another tactic that I was going to say about, how to talk to people who wouldn't normally talk to us. If you just use different words, it can make a huge difference.
Well,
How
I
you
mean,
talk to those people.
well, I mean,
Because they do have the same needs as us. They just call it something different, or
that's true.
it's different language, but it's pretty easy to do.
Well, I mean, look, and like I told Sabby that I was going to start doing, and Sabby says she's going to start doing. Instead of calling it left policy, we're going to call it class policy.
Yeah, that's a good idea, definitely. Because
Because
it matters. Even calling
yeah,
it those things, it allows it to continue. And that just doesn't exist anymore.
yeah,
We should not have left and right don't exist anymore for me at all.
hmm
Everything is action, and either you give a crap about your fellow man or you don't. And I don't care what party that is. Like,
yeah, yeah. Let me see. Number 5 says provide all possible support and aid to third party and independent candidates who support the demands. Any serious candidate should already be calling out our current representatives as corrupt. And here's
I don't think anybody running as a Democrat. Like, I'm totally opposed to anyone that's going to join that party.
I mean
I
that's
don't
fair.
even. It's
That's fair.
impossible. Like, it's
Yeah.
impossible for you to do anything in that party. Why would you pursue that?
hmm
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems pointless.
I mean, yeah. Shout out to everybody who was on the third party summit that we had.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. And by the way, uh, hey, Dr. Stein, just wanted to say hi.
she's not
Okay,
here, is she?
no, but in
Oh
case
my
she's
gosh, she scared the crap out of
just in
me.
case she's watching, I want to make sure I send my hellos to Dr. Stein. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Oh, you're trying to woo her. I see. Yes, we love you. Come talk to us. We're worth it.
Dr. Stein is great.
Yeah.
She's also a really sweet person. Full
I think
admission
she
from
needs to be more feisty, though. I don't think she's feisty enough. You know who else I'm missing? Where's Medea Benjamin? Remember her? She is so awesome.
yeah.
She just confronts people and has no fear whatsoever. We need like 20 of her.
but you can also do that in a way
I know.
where it's not. Anyway, she's great.
Yeah.
Let me see. Six is when roadblocks are encountered, intensify direct actions,
Right.
protests, general strikes, sit-ins, boycotts, intensify. Look, when roadblocks are encountered, your price goes up. I don't care. It's like, okay, you guys are gonna do this. Okay, now we're gonna get even harder because
Mhm.
it's like either you're going to be a potato in boiling water or you're going to be, an egg in boiling water. I'm going to be an egg in boiling water. I'm going to harden. You're not going to
Mhm.
soften me up by putting me through the fire. Absolutely not. That's not what you're going to do. It's going to temper me and make me stronger. So guess what? If that's what you're going to do, then guess what? We're going to make it even more intense. And that's because look, what did direct action do back in the 60s? Direct action literally got a racist to sign the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act into law.
Yeah. But
So,
so many aspects had to come into play too. It wasn't one
yeah,
thing. It was
yeah, of
things
course.
everywhere, everywhere.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
need to do that. We need to get
yeah.
them all.
The intensity, it grew. Um, Seven says, be relentless about pointing out the real source of our problems.
Relentless, definitely.
Relentless. The billionaires and mega corporations. It is the top 0.1% versus the rest of us. That's the fight. Focus on class.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Anytime we go into a grocery store too, and anytime we are amongst, workers at all,
Mhm. Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
let them know that we're in solidarity with them.
yep,
We
yeah,
got your back.
yep. And to all the people who are black and brown, we know that for us, race and class are directly intertwined. We cannot
Right.
even separate them.
Mhm.
So this is also a race and class issue as well. If you are white, then also, and if you're talking to somebody who's black or brown, tell them that this also is a race issue as to helping to get rid of white supremacy because that is also a class issue as well. Also hammer that home too.
Be
Because
selective in who you say that to, though,
yeah, yeah, of course. You
because
know,
there are some people you can't approach that way. You have to approach them a different way.
Yeah, but the thing is, you have to become all things to everyone, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to tailor your message towards the people while you're still being honest. It's just it's basically taking this is the message. It's a potato, but to one person I'm gonna give them French fries. To another person I'm gonna give them au gratin. To the other person I'm gonna give them mashed.
Right. Cater to
You
their
get
need.
you're not changing the message. You're just tailoring it into a way that's more acceptable to them.
Yeah,
That's basically
and
what you're
you'd
doing.
be surprised how many different things that is. Like really,
Yeah.
you can see like in polls when they ask people stuff and they just change the words a tiny bit, and it makes
Hmm.
this huge difference.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's why it's the language is very important on who
Like,
you're
look,
asking, and
can I give you an example?
yeah,
Okay. So I understand that family values are very important to you. And in touch with those family values, I think that one of the best ways to help you be able to spend more time with your family is if you had not just a living wage, but a thriving wage. Because honestly, these billionaires, if they can't pay you enough, then they don't deserve your labor, right?
and why are
And
they billionaires?
and then on top of that, also I do
They're
believe
obviously
that
against your family.
yeah, I do believe if you're very pro family, which you obviously are, I think that also paid maternity and paternity leave is also deeply important. Would you say
And
that
will
too?
make you a
It,
better
it, it,
parent,
it makes you a better parent. It forms and strengthens family bonds.
right?
Did you see what I just did there?
Yes,
And
you just
also,
told
and
it.
also, hey, one more point. And I also think that you should also have a democratic say over your workplace and be able to self determine how things should be ran based on your expertise and where you work.
I'd be interested in knowing like how that's responded to by different parties.
But who did I
I
just
just like
appeal
to
to?
witness it, like
You know what I mean? But
no, you're
everything I
talking to the
said was
right.
true.
You're
Yeah, but
talking to the right.
everything I just said was true. There was
Yeah,
nothing
and
out
they
of the
have those,
ordinary.
or they claim to. They all
Yeah,
have those
yeah. You know,
once.
I'll be honest with
That's
you.
what they claim all the
Anybody
time,
who's
right? The family values stuff is.
yeah, I mean, when it comes, and you're just doing it from a class analysis,
Hmm.
and then you also talk about, don't tread on me. Well, yeah, I mean, but you see the police treading on, black people.
Yeah,
So don't wouldn't it be best, to help, black people to secure their Second Amendment rights and their rights to, not be oppressed by the state? And
yeah,
when you go that route, but here's the thing, the message hasn't changed. It's just the delivery,
exactly.
right?
But that's extremely important
So
in some sectors. Like that is the difference between everything.
yeah. And then on top of it, a
In
lot of
fact,
them,
you
they're
can
just
see it in the media, right? Like
yeah,
you can tell which shows are talking to which people by the language they use.
yeah, because Fox News
They use
is
different language. Yeah.
yeah, Fox News, they just screw over anybody who considers themselves to be conservative. I mean, you can even go the conservative route when it comes to climate change. You can be like, well, I mean, would you consider yourself a Teddy Roosevelt conservative and want to make sure that we keep nature as plentiful as possible so that you can go out hunting like you want to? Because I mean, literally, they're taking away your right to hunt every single time they
Right. So it
approve of
affects their
possibility.
needs as well, not just this guy's. It's gonna put you in harm's way as well, right?
Thank you. I gotta sing to you. Thank you. you know,
You always sing.
I do, I do.
You're
But
good, judges show.
hopefully I don't make people's ears bleed. But you know what I mean. I'm sorry if in
I think it's
advance.
awesome.
But yeah. And then actually I'm gonna put this link in the chat. But to anybody, there's videos also. There's one on the solutions panel from Sabby Sabs as well.
On
And
the
he
the solutions panel.
yeah, she did a solutions panel as well.
Okay.
And then he also has the 11 demands for real democracy. This is a comprehensive list, which I think is also really great to also take a look at. And he also makes reference to, as far as criminal justice reform, he says, see 10 demands for justice, which also was helped created by people like Nick, Zoya, and Awkward. So guess what? There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's for sure.
yeah.
Lists
So
are good. Knowing what the
list
hell we're fighting for is important.
this is part of the demands that people need to recognize and utilize in order to fight for real change. Because guess what? Uh okay. What did JFK say? JFK said, "Those who prevent peaceful revolution
Yes.
make violent revolution inevitable."
Yes.
Right now,
We're almost there.
yeah, we're trying to go the peaceful route. It's like we're trying to be nice. We're trying to be nice, but you guys are pushing us. And so this is the first resort, and then after that we have the last resort. And so here's the thing. It's like we're doing the first resort first. All right. I'll put it like this. First you're going to get JB, and if you don't listen to JB, then you're going to get Rome. Which one do you rather have?
Well, who you
Because
asking?
yeah, yeah, it's like who you asking. It's like, do y'all want JB or do you want Rome? Because
Because
JB's
I'm
trying to
ready to
save
head in
your
the
ass.
woods and start a
I, I,
militia.
I'm trying to save your ass.
I'm ready. I'm
You
already
know,
there.
you know,
I'm dead
because
serious. I am already
it,
there. I think we are justified in getting an army.
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be like, look, if they don't listen to me, I'm gonna be like, all right, Rome, take it away, bro.
Yeah.
Take it away, brother.
You
Because
can't ignore
they don't
Rome.
listen to me. Oh, you can't ignore
It's
him.
impossible.
No.
It's just he
Oh,
makes it
by the way,
impossible.
just as a little side note, Rome got so much energy. That
Right?
kid had
He
look. Rome,
sits
Rome
still.
has
I've
enough.
noticed that.
No, and Rome has the energy of a 3-year old.
Right? He's hyperactive
He,
or something.
yes.
He
Like
cannot sit still.
I think honestly, I think the weed actually makes him sit down. Because other
Really?
than that, yeah, I think we kind of, you know, because Rome is everywhere. Like boom, 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 boom. When
Yeah.
he was here and we were doing tour for the poor, dear God, I looked at Rome. I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm tired.
Yeah. Did they
I'm
try? They came and tried to stop you from giving people pizza, right?
no, the
No, they
police.
didn't.
No, no,
Where
the
did I
police.
hear that? Someone said that. Huh?
No, the police were across the street, and they
Did,
looked at us and they kept it moving. They didn't give a shit.
did they do that to Rome somewhere else? Try to stop him from doing that?
Okay, so when he was with CJ in LA, somebody I don't think it was a police officer. I think somebody kept trying to say that they chose that life when they were on Skid Row,
Uh huh.
and Rome basically ran a tirade against them. He basically yelled at them, which was completely justified of Rome. But then police were also present and watching when he was in Boston with Sabby.
Uh huh.
But as far as them coming up and trying to stop, I don't think that happened, at least as of late, with any of the other RBN members.
Where did I hear
So
that? That's why is that in my head? I wonder. That I thought I wanted to ask you something too. That I
sure.
before when I first started watching you guys,
Hmm.
you had just changed your name.
Yeah,
Like, why were you? It seemed like you were forced to somehow. Like someone made you change your name,
that was a decision that was made by us. As
but it
far
sounded like it was because someone was pushing you that way. Like,
as far as that is concerned, we did not want the legacy of Fred Hampton because we make mistakes.
uh huh.
We just do. And so we did not want any mistakes that we might make in the future to be directly tied to him.
That
But
was
all
your decision. Someone else wasn't saying that to you that you are somehow co-opting.
I mean, people are going to say BS, but
I
that was
mean,
a
what made you
personal
think
that
that
was
oh,
a
we
no,
need to protect his name? Like, what made that even come up at all? That
I mean, yeah, I mean people were saying that, of course, but at the same time, what we wanted to do also was we are, you know, we are people who are trying to continue the revolutionary spirit. And it's not just only in Fred Hampton's name as well,
But I'm just
but
curious as to
because
where the
that's
pressure came from to do that. Like, that was odd to me.
I mean, pressure comes from everywhere. I mean, there's pressure. There's probably pressure even to change the names that we have now, but we don't give a shit. But the point is to continue to keep doing the same thing that we've been doing. You know,
Right.
and we didn't
And
want it
not
to
let
be,
that be an issue,
yeah,
right? Like,
and
not
plus we didn't want to distract from the message.
right.
You know, and so the 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 point is the message. The point is the action.
Yeah.
And so Fred Hampton did the things that he did for the action, for the, to revolutionize, to activate people. And that's what we want to do. And we don't want to distract from that. But at the same time, just because we still don't have his name attached to us anymore doesn't mean we still don't follow the model that he set, but not just his model, but the ones of people like Angela Davis and the people like
Mhm.
Henry P. Newton and the people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. You know, these these people, these revolutionaries, people like Kwame Ture. We want to continue going down that route of continuing to follow the same route, but also we also want to make sure that, because the CIA and FBI, they try to tarnish their name as much as possible. We don't
Mhm.
want the mistakes that we might make to also contribute to that.
Well,
Because
it reminded
everybody
me.
makes
So,
mistakes.
have you heard of like there's this group they're creating what they call free cells, and they started out as the same kind of thing, wanting to revolutionize the community, I guess, and now it seems they're just like helping people move to Mexico now. But the guy that runs it said that Vice News came to talk to them because they were building communities outside of America. Like they took a bunch of Americans, went down to Mexico, and started building a community. And Vice News went down there, and
Mhm.
they were calling it their underground, railroad kind of. And Vice News just gave them hell for using that term. Like, you don't have any business using that term as though it belonged to somebody else, and how dare you? It just seemed really weird to me. I thought if that was maybe similar, that someone was pressuring you, saying you shouldn't be using that name.
I don't know.
Okay, so no, then, well, if you would remember it, I'm sure. Like I wouldn't.
I don't remember that, but
I was just wondering if that was the same kind of thing that happened,
even to
being
use
pressured.
yeah, but to use the term underground railroad is kind of it's kind of touchy.
To
So
who? Like to,
I mean to those of us who are black, who that's part of our legacy, the legacy of my ancestors. Um,
but even if it's a black organization doing it, and the purpose of it is the same, like to help people escape,
yeah, I mean,
because
I
it
don't know.
isn't as severe, or because like they can't compare that to what those people went through, kind of thing.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds,
Yeah.
but but in the end, I applaud what
Well,
they're
that's
doing.
important to know, though. Like, especially for me, if that's going to bother somebody, like,
I mean,
if that
yeah,
reference is,
but the thing is, it's semantics. So what they're
isn't it?
doing
It's
is
ridiculous that we got to do this,
but
right?
yeah, but the primary purpose and the goal is what they're doing with it, and that's
Okay.
what really matters to me.
Well,
And
that's how I saw it,
if
though.
they call it that, okay, it's kind of like, but what you're doing, it's like, okay, I'm gonna applaud you for that. All right,
They were
fine.
helping people,
Yeah,
so I
that's the
consider
main
it.
focus. So I mean,
But
you
you
know,
did. You felt different about it, so that's why I'm asking. Like, because I would not have, and I'm trying to figure out why. Like, yeah,
yeah. I mean, mm. but
yeah.
you
See, the
know,
words matter. They really do, and we just proved that, right?
yeah, yeah.
It matters somehow. So
hmm
that's
Um,
hard to know.
yeah. But just to we're coming up on the end of our time here.
Yeah.
But I just want. Oh, let me put the. Did I put the link to uh this link by Eric in the chat? I'm gonna put that in here for those of you in Rockfin, um as well as here on YouTube and Rockfin, and I'm sorry, as we said, Rockfin Twitch. All right, so we put that there so you guys can all see that there. Also, Miss Janice, thank you so much for coming. Where can they find you, or where can they, see any of your work or communicate with you?
I'm not very disciplined at all about posting stuff. I have a blog at realityrevolution.blogspot. I'm on Twitter, Real Rev News, that kind of stuff. Uh, I, I like I said, I don't have enough discipline to like do a dang show or to. And now
Mhm.
I found out I don't really. I'm afraid of the camera a little bit, so that's another obstacle.
I got you.
But
Well,
just
there's always
just also,
podcasts.
I just want everybody to like really remember that every time you see people every single day, you need to remind them of what is going on, and that it needs attention.
hmm
Every your friends, your family, everyone you see in the story, you need to keep it in their face. And
hmm
if you have any access to people in power or
hmm
anything like that, use that as well. Just make sure you don't let them forget what is going on
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. Also, just as an option that presents to you, you can always get on Anchor, and you can always just use your voice like you're using right now. People don't see your face, but you can also do podcasting. So, just saying,
Yeah,
you can always have that option as well.
that
Uh,
requires discipline, though, right?
it does,
Yeah, you got to stick to a schedule. I'm so bad at that. I
and
never
that's
know what.
okay. That's okay. You can
Yeah.
just do it whenever you feel like. I mean, it helps, grow, consistency. But
Right.
if you just want to do it, let's say once a month, you can always do whatever you feel like. But
Yeah.
I just putting that out there. Um, but yes,
Yeah,
thank
I
you
used to
so.
write for op-ed news. I've got articles there too. So,
Hmm.
and I'm writing a book that I've been trying to write for years. Like I said, I have no discipline.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
doing well.
yeah. And she's black. Yeah, I agree with you. I do. But I do applaud the work that they're doing. But just to say my parting words to all of you. I appreciate all of you for joining me today. I'm glad that we got to talk about some solutions that could be implemented, and also just to let you guys know, and because I was listening to a lecture by Michael Parenti earlier today. At towards the end, he was talking about realize the power that you have, and continue to help others realize the power that they have, because we've been diminished in realizing what that power really is. So I just want to thank you all for joining. Thank you so much for coming. If you guys not have not hit the like button, what in the world are you doing? Please hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe also to the Revolutionary Blackout Network. Uh, this this gosh, this Tuesday on my channel, I also will be having a guest from the People's Voice Network, Andrew, from also known as Radical Pragmatist from the People's Voice Network, will be joining me on my channel this Tuesday. So please make sure to stay tuned for that. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it, and smoke them if you got them. Love you. Bye. See you later.
So.
Sayonara.